Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this video we're going to be looking at wrapping up the headers of a TVR 3000, but it doesn't really matter what car it is. As long as you have a header, you will be able to put some heat wrap on it. I just got two brand new headers for the TVR because the ones that are on the car are totally gone. The headers are in a pretty bad state. There are holes inside, they leak, they are very thin, they are bended. You know, it's time to get them replaced. And I'm going to replace them with another set of mild steel headers. Now, I opted to go for what we call actually mild steel, as you can see, but you can also go for stainless steel. Both have different advantages and disadvantages. The good thing about mild steel is that they are fairly cheap priced and they will last their time in my case. But of course, if you are really into racing and heavy duty work and you want to have longevity, then I would say go for RVS or stainless steel. But in this video, this is not about the option of it should be mild steel or stainless steel, because we're going to wrap those. And that's the same for whatever type of material you're using on your headers. We could have a lot of discussions if it does make sense to have heat wrap on your exhaust manifold or your headers. But I personally believe it is worthwhile, and I have my reasons for it. And maybe if you don't like it, you have your reasons for it. So share it with us in the comments, please. And one of the reasons that I'm putting up heat wrap on the cars is that it improves slightly the performance, because the pipe is going to get warmer and you're going to get a much better flow of exhaust gases through that pipe, because that pipe is internally a lot warmer than without heat wrap. Now, that performance increase is so minimal that you're not going to feel it when you're driving the car. But if you were to put the car on a dyno, then you would actually see it. The second reason is that heat wraps will protect the components inside the engine bay. Now, specifically if you're going to run with turbos, the temperature is a lot higher, so then you really want to get this engine bay cool as possible, and that's why I'm putting up heat wrap on my exhaust system. That is my main reason. And then the third reason I do it is I just like the looks. Now, heat wraps, they come typically in different forms and materials. You have the titanium-based heat wraps, and those are good up to about 1400 degrees centigrade. And that's great for turbo or high-performance engines. This engine right here is a Pinto engine. It is tuned, but it doesn't have a turbo, so I don't need this. The same thing from the TVR. I don't have the turbo on it, so I can deal with a standard heat wrap, which is typically polyester-based, which is good up to about 800 degrees centigrade. They also come in different widths, and you buy them on the roll, and then you can have clips to put it all together. I think I talked enough about the heat wraps, so now let's get in the house. It's a little bit warmer because it's pretty cold out here, and I'm going to put up the heat wraps on the headers for the TVR. So folks, before you start wrapping the header, there's a couple of tools you're going to need, and it's pretty simple. The thing you really have to have is a lot of patience, because it takes a bit of time to do it. I'm typically using a small plier, and I'm using that at the end to put these bands together. These are kind of stainless steel bands that will hold the heat wrap onto the pipe. So you do it at the beginning and at the end. So I've got a whole pile of those, so we will use these. I'm also using a ruler tape, and I'm using this one actually to calculate how much of the heat wrap I will have to cut off of my roll. And I'm using, well, a lace actually, but you can use any rope to measure some distances to do the calculation for your actual length of your heat wrap. And then finally I use some tape to tape up things. And of course we're having a roll of heat wrap. Now I decided to go for the 2-inch heat wrap, and this is the polyester type. And you need a couple of scissors to cut it. You can get a smaller, a 1-inch as well. I like the 2-inch or the 5-centimeter version because it works a bit faster. So that's about all you're going to need in terms of tools. Now, before you start wrapping, you have to work out a wrapping strategy, because headers can be quite complicated. The principle is that you always start from the collector and you build your way up to the front. Now, on this specific pipe, you can see that these two here are very close together, so there's no way you can get a wrap in between. So I'm going to have to wrap them together. But what I will wrap first of all is this pipe. This pipe is actually free. I can wrap around it. So I'm going to start from the collector and work my way up to the flange. And then I'm going to double wrap it at the bottom and at the top, and then we tie it down at the end. Then I'm going to start wrapping, most likely, this pipe here, as far as I can, until I can no more. And again, I'm going to start from the collector, build my way up. And then finally, I'm going to start my final wrap, which is probably going to start over here somewhere, or maybe even a little bit further. I'm going to wrap all around it, over the collector. I'm going to take the two pipes, and then at the end, I'm going to break out to that one pipe which is left. And that's it. And at the end, we're going to put the straps up, as I said before. So this is the strategy on this pipe. Different pipes or different headers, you may have to apply a different strategy. But the idea is always work your way up from the collector to the flanges that connect typically to the cylinder head. And wrap together these pipes that are so close to each other that you can't put things up. Now, in this specific case, I'm going to have three types of wraps, right? I'm going to have three different sizes. I'm going to have a wrap which is going to go on here. I'm going to have a wrap which is going to go on most likely on this pipe to some point right there. And then finally I'm going to have a wrap which is going all the way up, double wrap around the collector, and then actually break out to this small pipe right here. And this roll is a 30-meter roll, and obviously I can't wrap this around, so I will have to cut pieces off. Now, by the way, guys, 30 meters is about, I think, 90 feet. And I like these larger rolls because they are a bit cheaper and you're going to use it anyway. So we'll have to cut off some pieces of this roll. Now, how much do you need to cut off? Don't cut it too short because then you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Don't cut it too long because then you waste material. People use different methods to calculate how long the wrapping should be. Some people go like half on the pipe and they fold it together like this. And that's it. They know how long it is, and they keep doing this, and then they start measuring how much they need of that by just placing these wraps every time. So they wrap it once, then they're going to wrap it again, like halfway, you know, they move it a bit, and so on. And at the end, you'll have kind of a pack here that you can unfold, and then you can actually use that and cut it off to put it onto the pipe. That's one method. The method I like to use is a bit different. I like to use what I call a string. I just place my string on there, and let's say I want to go up to this point, if that was possible. Now, this is now the length of my pipe. And I'm going to write this down on a piece of paper, how long that is. I'm just going to do it the same thing with my rope, and I put it around the pipe. And now this is going to be the length I need per wrap. So we measured with the string the length of the pipe. Now this is about 29 centimeters, and I'm going to go up a little bit. I'm going to say 30. Is about 14 centimeters. I'm going to make it 15. Now, I know that my tissue or my wrapping is actually covering per turn 4 centimeters. So, the 30 centimeters, I need to divide it by 4, and that gives me around, let's say, 7. So I'm going to say I'm going to need 8 wraps. You know, I rounded it up a little bit. And every wrap is 15 centimeters. So now I multiply this by 8. And that's about 1 meter 20, right? So I know I need to cut a piece of wrapping of 1 meter 20, but I'm going to double wrap it at the start and at the end, so I need to add another 30 to it. So this is going to be roughly about 1 meter 50, and I'm going to give it some extra slack, and I'm going to make it actually 160. So this is how I calculate this. All right, so I'm going to start with the first pipe, and I calculated it, and this is supposed to be 105. And that's exactly where I have my marker placed already. So I'm going to get it right here. Now, if you look closely on this, there is a side that has loops, and there's a side that has no loops. And I'm going to place the loops always downwards, so away from the flanges. All right, so let's start with the first pipe. I'm going to fold this a little bit so I can tuck it nicely under there. And guys, this is a bit of fiddling, huh? And you need to press it down pretty good. Now, the first wraps are typically the worst ones. Once you have a little bit of wrapping around it, it's going to hold itself a lot better. And of course, you need to overlap sufficiently, especially in the beginning. Now, the pipe has curves, so you can't always make it fully tight everywhere. That's something you need to keep in mind. So, depending if it's on the inner or the outer side, you're going to have less or more overlap. But try it anyhow. See, now it starts to hold. I know I'm doing a lot of overlap here, but this is a very short pipe, so. So patience, I think patience is the key word here, guys. You need to really be patient with this. I think if you have really small pipes, you might be actually better off with smaller wrapping. There we go. And we are at the end, and I'm going to overlap it as well, so we can tuck it nicely away. And that would be the first wrap. We'll cut off these pieces later on. And then we put the straps up. All right. Okay. So we're going to cut it and then bend it nicely over. All right, so that's number one. So now we're going to do the next pipe, which is going to be the small one right here. We're going to get it as deep as we can. And now you could see I couldn't go all the way to the end because the pipe is closed there. So you always need to keep that in mind, that you may have those issues, right? I'm not going to put a clamp on here yet because this is going to be double wrapped for this pipe. Now we're going to get an extremely long wrap, which is starting at the pipe here all the way to the end, and we're going to overwrap, of course, the collector. So you need to do a little bit of a different calculation because this is a bit wider. But this is a lot of wrapping to be done now, so I'm going to fold this again like we did before, and then we're going to start to wrap. In the beginning, this will not be too hard because we have a straight pipe, and I'm holding it with my thumb. I'll do a double wrap in the beginning. Yeah, you need to pull it straight. And now I want to start wrapping a bit wider, so with less overlap. And here's the header all wrapped up and ready to go onto the car. I think overall this is looking not too bad. It took me about an hour to finish it. What I forgot to mention is that you might want to wear gloves if you work with this, because these wrappings are polyester based wrappings, and you know, they have small particles that come off. You might want to wear dust masks if you have a lot of wrappage to be done. This was just a little bit. But I'm not going to put it on the car yet. It's about ready though, but I'm not going to do it yet. I still have to paint it now with some heat resistant paint up to 800 degrees centigrade, and that will hold it even better together. And then we'll install it on the car. So keep watching, and please by all means provide comments, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.